All right, we are live. We are live. We are live. Good people, great people, God's people. Welcome to another episode of Odi's Office. We're gonna turn the Pandora down just a little bit because it's a little too loud. But yeah, good people, God's people. Welcome to another episode of Odi's Office. Right? We are here. I gotta scoot back. Cool. All right, we are here today to talk about accountability. Right? The reason we are here to talk about accountability today is because I see a lot of conversation going on talking about accountability, talking about what accountability looks like, talking about, how everybody needs to be held accountable and how nobody holds anybody accountable, or we confuse accountability with punishment, or it's just a lot of things that we associate with accountability, and we don't necessarily take the time to break down all the way what accountability looks like and what accountability means. So my purpose today is to talk about accountability from my perspective, what I believe accountability is, and how it is that we can navigate spaces of accountability without attempting to hold somebody else punishable to something that we perceive needs to be held accountable for. So before we get into any of that, I got to give y'all updates on the brand. So first and foremost, as I said previously, I am offering multiple ways for you all to interact with me offline. Most of my work happens offline. Right? So when I say most of my work happens offline, the things that you all see from me on TikTok is probably about like 10% of the stuff that I actually do. Right? And this is just me bringing awareness to what it is that I do as an individual, how it is that I move within my life, and what it is that I utilize in my mind in order to make particular decisions or in order to do particular things. Right? So what it is that happens in that space particularly is that I utilize my previous knowledge, right? I utilize the things that I've learned throughout my career and throughout my schooling, and I utilize the self-study that I engage with on a regular basis for myself. So what it is that I've done is that I've made those different parts of my life accessible to you all for, of course, a fee, but I've made them accessible. Right? So the things that I read on a daily basis in order to increase my own knowledge. So people have been asking me about book lists. People have been asking me about book clubs. People have been asking me about those things. So I have two book clubs that are available for people to subscribe to. One is the Love Book Club and the other one is the Wealth Book Club. The Love Book Club focuses specifically on self-alignment. It focuses specifically on exploring one's own self-worth. It focuses specifically on increasing one's knowledge about the black self and also the self that they would like to learn how to love. Right? That's also where I host Odi's Lullaby, where I read to you all highly explicit content for you to fall asleep. I just had my first Odi's Lullaby on Tuesday, and the ladies who were there said that they genuinely enjoyed it. I'm having another one tonight in my Love Book Club, so if you all would like to be a part of that, my Love Book Club can be accessed by going onto my Instagram and clicking on my link tree and saying join the Love Book Club. There is a link there. My Wealth Book Club is actually very similar to my Love Book Club, except instead of focusing on things that assist us with growth, self-love, self-alignment, we focus on things that specifically deal with engaging with black wealth. Right? Engaging with wealth at the intersection of personality and blackness, engaging in generational wealth at the intersection of being black and moving through a capitalistic society. And ultimately, it's for you to understand, or it's for you to grow in your own self-knowledge as it relates to wealth. Just because you exist in a capitalistic society does not mean that you have to be a capitalist. Right? Just because you move within a capitalistic structure does not mean that that structure is always going to be there, and it does not mean that that structure is the only structure that exists in the world. The United States of America has done a very good job at marketing what wealth looks like to people instead of teaching people how to acquire that wealth. We in the Mindful Finance Incubator and in the Mindful Finance course and in the Wealth Book Club specifically utilize literature in order to critically deconstruct the concept of wealth that we have been taught as black people and to reconstruct the wealth that we have been utilizing within our lives, which is basically market socialism, from a space of revolutionary investing. So if you would like to learn more about that, you can go join my Wealth Book Club, which is, once again, you can go into my Instagram, click my link tree. It'll say join the Wealth Book Club, and you can enroll in those things. Now, those are the two things that I'm going to tell y'all about today, because we don't got too much time to be flustering around with what it is that I got going on offline. But those are the two ways that you can begin reaching me offline. Those are the two ways that you can begin learning with me and learning from me about some of the things that I do in my personal time in order for me to get to the amount of knowledge that I have right now. I'll be in Miami December until December 3rd, starting on November 26th. And I actually will be down there with a course creator who focuses specifically on teaching women how to continue to grow their wealth while at the same time retaining self-care. So I'm moving, y'all. I'm moving, and I want y'all to be able to move with me. Right? Which goes back to accountability and responsibility. So I want to be held accountable for my growth, but I also want you all to learn how to be more accountable for yourselves within a particular space. Right? And that's the reason why I am extending what it is that I am doing, what it is that I am responsible for, and what it is that I am accountable for to the people. Why? Because I know that my skills of self-accountability, my skills of self-management, and my skills of self-manifestation have gotten me to the point where I'm getting flown out to different states multiple times in a year for free. I'd have to pay for nothing, and talk about ways to increase my income by multiple of thousands, by multitudes of thousands, and being exposed to and networked with people who allow me to continue to have all of these accolades and continue to, reach all of these resources. But the reality of the situation is, it does not matter if I'm in these rooms. It does not matter if I'm sitting here listening to these people. If I do not hold myself accountable to, one, allowing you all to see this information and handing this information to you and giving you the opportunity to engage in it, and two, if I am not responsible for continuing to refine myself so that I can get closer to that wealth or closer to that growth of self, then it will not happen. It will not happen. I am accountable for the fact that I started going in rooms with millionaires 2 years ago. 2 years ago. I am accountable for the fact that it took me this long to believe that I can actually continue to do this for a living, right? I am accountable for setting up my business in such a way where you all actually know what it is that I'm selling, or you know what it is that I'm providing, which is a range of e-products that specifically help with self-alignment and manifestation in the absence of people being able to afford my life coaching, or in the absence of people being able to get into my affordable life coaching slots, right? That is my responsibility in order to continue to generate the income that it is that I'm looking for. I am accountable for that. I am held account to what it is that I want to do, because I made the decision to quit I didn't quit. I got fired. But I made the decision to not go seek another 9-to-5 job. Therefore, I am responsible for that set of decisions, and I am accountable to continue to grow what it is that I'm growing, which is the reason why I consistently, daily, on a day-to-day basis, refining the fear. Sincerely, it is a fear, right? And refining the low self-esteem that I have specifically around selling things to people, or more so, it's not selling things to people. It's showing people what it is that I've done and believing that they are not going to rip me to shreds about it, right? But I cannot be upset at anybody else but me if those things do not come to fruition. I cannot be upset with anybody else but me. So what do? I continue on a daily basis to hold myself accountable to refining my process of solving problems and expressing how it is that I solve problems, so that people will be interested in my e-products. That is it. Because to be quite honest, I only have 4. My 4 e-products are my manifestation manual, my mindful finance incubator, and my mindful finance course, and my 2 book clubs. That's it. And that's all the e-products that I'm offering. Why? Because I know that I am still responsible for my self-care. I know that I'm still responsible for holding myself to a particular degree of balance so that I can continue to provide for you all, so that I can continue to bring you all these lives, so I can continue to bring you all these podcasts, right? I have to be accountable and responsible for myself first. And genuinely, that is what it is that I teach in my one-on-one coaching. That is what it is that I teach to my clients when I do therapy. I'm not here to tell you that this person is wrong. I am not here to tell you that, yes, this person has wronged you. That is not what I'm here for, because at some point that conversation ends, right? The next conversation becomes, are you holding yourself accountable to affirming your own boundaries? Are you holding yourself accountable to affirming what it is that you want for yourself? Are you holding yourself accountable to being responsible for your own life and your decisions past a traumatic incident? What does that look like? Truly, what is accountability and responsibility for the self as it relates to relationships looks like? Because I'm going to be very honest with y'all. I hear a lot of conversations about black men not being accountable to black women. I have heard black women not being accountable to black men. And as a black clinician, I'm telling all of y'all, all of it comes from trauma that we are not being accountable for and we're not being responsible for within ourselves because it hurt too bad. So let's get into it. Because once again, if my business, this is an accountability post on the lowest of keys, right? If my business does not take off because I'm working on it, I'm working, right? I'm working diligently. But I am also seeking external counsel from coaches. I am also talking to my friends who are entrepreneurs who make millions of dollars to see what it is that they are doing that I'm not doing without becoming jealous of what it is that they're doing. I am not attempting to make myself seem as if though I know more than I know, because I don't. That is the reason why I am seeking counsel. But all of these things have to do with the accountability of self based upon the goal that I want to reach. That is true manifestation. Manifestation begins with the alignment of self, and the alignment of self can only happen if you are accountable for yourself and realistic about what it is that's going on in your environment. It requires radical acceptance of the self for who it is that you are at that moment in time. That is the first step to manifestation, and that is the reason why so many people are not manifesting, because they are not holding themselves accountable. You are attempting to hold the environment accountable for your comfort. That is not how that works. That is not how that works. It is not. Spirit will make way for your gift to bring to you. But if you constantly allow your ego to get in the way of your expression of your gift, my brother, my sister, you will only manifest pieces of your entire blessing. So let's talk about it. What is accountability? Like y'all say, Google is free, right? You feel me? So accountability is defined as the fact or condition of being accountable. Responsibility. Right? Let's go to the next definition. Responsibility, right? The act of being responsible. So, responsibility is defined by the state or fact of having a duty to deal with something or having control over someone. Say that one more time. Responsibility is the state or fact of having a duty to deal with something or having control over someone, right? The other definition for responsibility is the opportunity or ability to act independently and make decisions without authorization. Too many of us confuse accountability and codependency in relationships. Responsibility is also defined as a thing that one is required to do as part of a job, role, or legal obligation. A lot of us want to be a partner role, but not be responsible in being a partner or accountable in being a partner. Because the secret sauce of relationships, I'm going to tell y'all right now. The secret sauce of relationships is not trying to hold your partner accountable for everything. It's holding yourself accountable to the things that you know you don't do well. That is the secret sauce in relationships. The secret sauce in relationships is holding yourself accountable to the things that you know you do not do well. Not necessarily to the things that your partner does not like. It's to the things that you do not do well. And here's the difference. if you focus on the things that you do not do well, 9 times out of 10, it's going to overlap with some of the things that your partner does not like. The reason being is because usually the things that our partner does not like falls into the space of us being irresponsible with their emotions. It falls into the space of us lacking accountability of the clarity and the consciousness of our communication. I ask a lot of my clients, how often do you think about what you think about? In cognitive behavioral therapy, we have a skill called metacognition. How often do you think about what you think about? A lot of my clients say, I don't really do that. I usually don't do that. Metacognition and thinking about what you think about is the first step of being accountable to your own behaviors. Why? Because most people do not challenge their own ideas and beliefs. They don't. They just accept them as what is. This is the reason why so many people present opinions as facts. This is the reason why so many people don't understand why when I say your boundary is your responsibility, and therefore if somebody crosses your boundary, it is your accountability to communicate how they've crossed that boundary and your responsibility to make sure that they don't cross it again. Oh, but the other person? No. An expectation is external. A boundary is internal. An expectation is something that you believe the other person should do or you want them to do in order to meet your boundary. But your boundary genuinely and usually is based upon trauma that you've experienced previously. So it's trauma, boundary, expectation, and responsibility. I'm sorry, expectation and requirement. Right? So I saw somebody in the comments, because I'm doing a dual stream on TikTok. I saw somebody in the comments say, so basically, you are accountable for your roles, responsibilities, and the things that you have committed to 100%. 1,000%. And that is the reason why so many black women get upset with black men when they get and then when they get in a relationship, all of a sudden, it's gone. You was talking all this big shit and now you are not responsible and accountable to what you told me. You are not responsible and accountable for what you said that you could do. It's the same thing with black women who say, oh, I do this, that, and the third. I can cook, I can clean, I can woo, woo, woo. Okay. But then when we get in a relationship, you do none of that because you believe that that's something that you can weaponize in order to manipulate and extract behavior from me as a man. You are not being accountable and you are not being responsible about how it is that you have learned how to engage in socially acceptable emotional manipulation from women in order to extract things from men. There is accountability to be held on both sides, honestly, right? But once again, accountability is usually individual. Accountability is usually individual, right? So my mother said to me, she said, William, just because you hold somebody accountable does not mean that they're obligated to take account. And that shit changed my life. I'm going to say it one more time. My mother told me, William, just because you hold somebody accountable does not mean that they are obligated to take account. What does that mean? You could tell somebody that they done you wrong 30 ways to Sunday until you blue in the face. Unless that person accepts that reality as being true, they will continue to harm you in that way. I'm a relationship coach and a relationship therapist, and a number of times I will get women who come to me and they are trying to figure out how to deal with their partners who do not put forth any effort. And I tell them to stop. Stop putting forth effort. Stop. Because if you are asking me how it is to retool your effort, instead of looking and accepting the fact that your partner is not putting forth the same effort and then moving that way? Why are you continuing to prioritize his needs and not prioritize your own if he is not reciprocating them? That's irresponsible. You are not holding yourself accountable to communicating those needs, or you are not holding yourself responsible for meeting your own needs. You can be upset and you can grieve the fact that this person is not meeting your needs, while at the same time still holding yourself responsible and accountable for learning how to meet your own needs. And that's what I mean when I say a number of people confuse codependency with accountability. You want somebody to move in a particular way to make you feel better. That is codependent. If you are consistently attempting to feel like, or if you are consistently attempting to figure out how to control your partner so that you feel better, that's codependency. If you can't figure out where your emotions begin and where your partner ends, and that puts you on an emotional roller coaster all the time, that is enmeshment. The first step to accountability is holding yourself accountable. Holding yourself responsible. Have I checked off the things in this list to make sure that what it is that I'm communicating is to my best ability? Have I utilized the resources to my disposal in order to communicate this in this way? Or have I only done things that will confirm what it is that my trauma tells me that this person is going to do? You are not accountable and responsible for your trauma. You are not accountable and responsible for what it is that you have experienced and how it is that it clouds or shifts or jades your judgment or your empathy. Do you know that trauma reduces your ability to have empathy? Did you know that? Trauma reduces your ability to have empathy. And if you do not address the trauma, the person or the gender that traumatized you, you will continue to have difficulty expressing empathy with them. That is the reason why I struggle at times with empathizing or sympathizing with what black men say, because black men have caused me a lot of trauma. That does not excuse the fact that I still want to help my brothers. That does not excuse the fact that at times I get a little, a little passionate with my brothers. But the reality of the situation is I recognize that I am being accountable to not only when my ego flares up, but when I'm putting too much of my own person into an opinion. But brothers, when I call y'all to stage to do the same thing, sometimes y'all fail miserably. Miserably. Because once I get you in front of enough people, you are going to feel compelled to continue to perform that masculinity, because now you don't want to look stupid in front of a bunch of people. But the reality of the situation is they already can see how stupid you are. They just waiting for you to see it. They just waiting for you to apologize. And that is the song of the century for so many men. Brothers that say to me, oh, I can see right through you. You think that you doing all this because you gonna get some ass. Brother, that means that I can see right through you, because mirrors are a motherfucker. You believe that I'm doing this because your homeboys do that and then come back and tell you about it. I thought I was tweaking when I started crying when one of my partners found another one of my partners something in the same space. I thought I was tweaking. The reality of the situation is I take pride in making sure that I am upholding my partner's boundaries, so much so to the point where I am disappointed in myself if I don't do it right, because I know that I've caused this person harm. It ain't that shit happened. No, bro, no. That's irresponsible and non-accountable for me. So I had to let her know how much it is that I felt bad. Not only that, I had to let her know that the reason why I'm boo-hooing is because I've been in situations where I felt as if though I was constantly causing somebody damage. And as much as I was trying to tell them this is by mistake or this is not something that I'm doing intentionally, they did not believe me. Why? Because they were so fixated on the way that it is that men had harmed them in the past, they could not fathom that I was not trying to be intentionally a monster to them. So in turn, they weaponized their trauma against me to say to me, not this partner, but a previous one, right? They weaponized their trauma against me to say to me, you're doing this on purpose. You just want to hurt me. You just want to X, Y, and Z. Shorty, I'm having a trauma response from the both of y'all because both of y'all keep screaming at me or blaming me for shit that I didn't do. And that was a significant part of my childhood. But it looks like you all cannot see past your own womanly ego to recognize that as a man, I can also have a trauma response. Like I was watching a segment from the Daily Wrap Up podcast, and it's like sometimes I agree with what it is that's on there, sometimes I don't. But that's the nature of conversation, right? So they had one clip where the gentleman was saying, you know, my mother kept my father away from me as a child, and my father tried to be there for me. But this woman was so upset with him. My mother didn't even want me, but she didn't want him to be around me because her ego would have perceived that as a loss. Do you know how many black women invalidate that trauma for black men simply by saying that they're just blaming black women? If you are accountable to that action, then why can't he blame you? If you are accountable, and I say this all the time to black women, if you are accountable to that action, if this black man is saying, my black mother caused me this trauma, I saw it, I lived it, the first thing that come out y'all motherfucking mouths is, oh, you just trying to blame black women. If you are accountable for the decisions that you have made in that period of time, you are still accountable. I don't give a damn if this man left you or not. You are still responsible for your behaviors. Because we ain't talking about the man that left right now. We talking about the woman that stayed. And how it is that some of y'all refuse to admit how much that man hurt you. Because once again, you perceive that as a loss. And then you turn around and you leave all of those deposits in your son, and you wonder why this man cannot stand black women. I have had to hold my own clients accountable for rehashing the trauma that they have had with black men into their black sons. I have had to stop it. And they immediately get defensive. Oh, no, that's not what I'm doing. And then I have to explain it to them. Stop it. There's a part of you that believes that men believe that they're always right. And so you have to feel like you have to cut them down to size so that they actually listen to what it is that you're saying, because you believe that men only respond to aggressive behavior. So what does that mean? That means that you attempt to be the man that left y'all in this position anyway. And what you usually do is you equip the parts of masculinity that you believe that men respond to. And usually that's you re-weaponizing the toxic parts of the patriarchy within your son. Check yourself. And usually 9 times out of 10, where it is that you come from in that space is from a place of trauma. You need to be accountable for your trauma, because right now you are bleeding on that little black boy. We forget that little black boys turn into black men. We tend to forget that. And somewhere between, and I see it happen all the time, somewhere between the ages of 8 and 14, we discard these boys. Because we finally realize that they're men and we can no longer help them. So there's accountability on both sides, right? I'll hear women say, oh, they need to fight harder in court. Do you know that the court system, as it relates to parents or as it relates to parentals, is very much so draconian in the space of the woman because of the patriarchy? It does not matter. They're always going to believe that the woman is the more fit parent. I'm not going to say always, but usually they believe that the woman is the more fit parent. And it has nothing to do with her ability to take care of the child. It has more to do with the overarching social perception that women are more equipped to take care of children than men. The more we attempt to ignore the fact that women weaponize the patriarchy in order to harm, manipulate, and get men to do what they want them to do because of the effects of the patriarchy, like, come on, G. We all have accountability in this space. We all have accountability in this space. Like, let's stop it. Let's stop pretending as if though we are not all causing each other damage based upon what it is that we as black people have experienced in terms of trauma. Right? Because we like to say, oh, the man left, the man left, the man left. Okay. So now are you willing to admit that him leaving harmed you? Are you willing to admit that your baby boy hears the conversations that you talk about all the time around your girlfriends? And then you turn around and you say, oh, not you, you the king, da-da-da-da. And then you wonder why black men believe that they are not culpable for the commonalities of what it is that's happening because they're listening to their mother. And I find it real crazy how black women who are dating these men will blame the mother and not see themselves in this mother. Are you not a black woman? We need to stop separating ourselves from the cycle that is us. That's real Caucasian. That idea that you can be unbiased or separate is very much so empiricist. And empiricism is the way in which we do science now. But empiricism began as a philosophy that separated spirit and material. So we are not being accountable to the reality of the situation that science is not absolute. It is not. Quantum physicists just proved that the local universe is not real. What that means is that if 5 people look at the same point in time, all of them are going to have a different perception of that same point in time. Therefore, you cannot, even though you can see it, you cannot, without a shadow of a doubt, say that what it is that you are looking at is real unless all of the 5 people in that circle agree to it. That is how we get fact. Fact is not fact. Fact is common knowledge that is shared amongst people, and then we all fall into the knowledge of what we believe this is. Right? So are we being accountable to continuing to do research? Are we being accountable to what it is that it means for us to actually keep up with what it is that we believe that we know? Are we being accountable to refining what it is that we believe so that we can get to the goals that we want to get to? You cannot move into a higher self believing that you are going to vibrate at the same vibration that your lower self did. That is being irresponsible. That is not holding yourself accountable to rewiring what you need to rewire in order to vibrate at a different level. So let me explain this to y'all in a way that y'all gonna understand, right? Because sometimes that gets real esoteric. People are confused as to why it is that they are not manifesting at the level that they want to manifest, because you are not holding yourself accountable to rewiring the parts of your brain that are necessary in order to receive the messages that you need in order to vibrate at that level. From a quantum mechanic and energetic perspective, we as human beings are electromagnetic communicators. What does that mean? That means that if your electromagnetic communication system has been harmed or shifted in some way, very few people are going to assist you in rewiring that system if A, you do not know how to communicate it, or B, you are unwilling to allow somebody to dig into those parts of you to help you rewire it. You physically will not be able to tune into those vibrations because you do not have the mechanics for it. You do not. Therefore, you are still accountable and responsible for identifying the parts in your wiring that are faulty in order for you to vibrate at the level that you want to vibrate to get to the goals that you want to reach. I am telling you, The first step in manifestation is self-alignment, and the first sub-step in self-alignment is accepting and being responsible for who you are at this moment in time right now. For the people who believe that this sounds like a whole bunch of pseudoscience, no, let me break it down to you even further. Motivational interviewing is an evidence-based practice that is used for individuals who are dealing with substance abuse, and motivational interviewing literally is us asking you where you are, where you want to go, identifying the discrepancy between the two, and I do not push you at all. I just continuously ask you questions that feel like I'm being a guru or an asshole. But the reality of the situation is you have to answer for yourself why you're not doing this, because there is a pro and con to everything. There is a pro and con to everything. But are you being accountable for that balance? Are you being responsible to that reality? Are you being honest about that reality? Right? Self-accountability looks like introspection. Self-accountability looks like empathy for and grace for the self. Self-accountability looks like being able to admit, it don't matter if it's 1 or 1,000. If you are wrong, you are wrong. That does not mean that you are wrong indefinitely. It means that you are wrong at that point in time. And the reality of the situation is right and wrong are still, at the end of the day, plausibly individual. So in the space of a communication in a relationship, you can clearly say, I can yield to what it is that I've done here. I can take my accountability here. And I also need you to see how it is that you responded, contributed to my response. And this is the reason why I say, as a man, emotional intelligence is a boundary. It is necessary in my relationships. Necessary. Because if you a woman and you coming to me and you trying to weaponize the patriarchy against me, I'm going to read you like a stupid ass man. In the same way these men regress right in front of my eyes, you are going to regress right in front of my eyes, because I've seen it. I've seen it. I reduced a woman to tears simply because I was attempting to hold her accountable, and I did not give a flying fuck about her crying. I did not care. I asked her, why are you crying? Why are you crying? Why are you crying? For what? For what? I'm still going to hold you accountable for what it is that you have done to me. You are not going to Karen tears your way out of this. You are not going to, oh, well, you a man, so you can get out your feelings your way out of this. Actually, the more you try to do that, the more evidence I'm going to have that you're weaponizing the patriarchy against me, while at the same time asking me to hold this emotional space for you. You can kick rocks. Not doing that. But that is me holding myself accountable to one, because during the span of that conversation, I spazzed. I'm not going to lie. I spazzed the hell out. But then I calmed myself down. I left. I came back and I apologized for spazzing and continued the conversation. Even though this woman was actively in my house attempting to gaslight, minimize, and dismiss the emotions that I had about a simple question. But I am accountable and I am responsible for maintaining what it is that I believe is my character in that space. And that is the only way that I can comfortably say, without a shadow of a doubt, I did my best. Because I was honest about whether or not I was doing my best. Right? Because as a man, if I am doing this work, if I am doing these things, and as a woman, you say to me, I'm coming down here to see you, and then you don't check on me, I'm going to ask you. This is what you committed to. This is what you said that you were going to do. I am going to hold you accountable for that. I'm going to hold you responsible for that. Because if you say that you coming down here to see me and I'm working for 8 hours and you don't check on me once, that's a glaring disparity in what it is that you said versus what it is that you've done. Or were you so upset, or were you so angry that you fell into the space of vindictiveness and you wanted to, quote unquote, show me? How can you show me something that I've already seen? How can you show me something that how can you teach me something that I already understand? Well, if you would have understood it, you would have did it. That's perceptual, and that's on your time. And nobody in the world shares the same time. We just agree to meet at a particular point at a particular time. And even still in that situation, you still have to be accountable to your time management, and you still have to be responsible enough to understand what time something is happening. A lot of people are under the impression that I, quote unquote, take sides. No. I am a stickler for accountability in any form. I don't give a damn if you're a black man or a black woman. I don't care. I do not care. I am a stickler for responsibility in any form. So if I can see you very plainly as a black woman weaponizing the same patriarchy that you complain about on another page towards a man, I'm going to call you out. I don't give a damn how attractive you are. I have stopped talking to women, badass women, because they did not ask me how my day was. Because shorty, that's a red flag. That is selfish. That means that you do not believe that as a man, I have a day to want to talk about. That means that you are going to take up all of the emotional space in that relationship. You are going to monopolize the entire space, and I'm going to get tired of your ass. So why waste my time? And to this day, I don't even think that woman knows why I stopped talking to her. Had another conversation with a woman. She was a baddie. Turns out she asked me a question. She was like, how do you feel about this? It was a meme of, you know that meme where it's like, not my son. I was like, this makes me feel kind of weird. I feel like it's homophobic. It is homophobic. She's like, yeah, but I stopped talking to her too. Right? Because that means that if I got a gay homie or I got like a gay son, you gonna have to go through the process of trying to figure out how to not be homophobic. And my son's gonna get harmed by that. I don't got time for that. Because you a homophobe, and on top of that, I am intrinsically turned off by homophobes. Why? Because that means that you are literally you are too stupid to see how you're using the same tools of oppression that oppress you. And I genuinely cannot stick my member in stupid women. I just can't. Stupidity makes me flaccid. Can't do it. Right? Because if you are not willing to take the time to slow down and be accountable for what you say, to be accountable for the things that don't even come out of your mouth, to be accountable for your thoughts, to be accountable for your morals, nobody has to tell you to do that. Once again, the third definition of responsibility is to act or to behave without authority or permission. You are not responsible for yourself. And that is the reason why with the conversation about the baby mama thing and how many kids, like I'm not on the fence about that conversation either, because there is accountability to be held on both sides. Right? Because the way that other men bring it up is, you loose, woo, woo, woo. The way that I bring it up is, I really want you to look at it from the perspective of somebody making a series of decisions. You have 3 children with 3 different men, and none of those men are in those children's lives. You are behaving irresponsibly for yourself. It's not that men will not date or be with women who have multiple children. That's not what it is. What it is that there are women who are attempting to place somebody else's responsibility, namely their own, onto a man. Why? Because they are still operating under the patriarchal guise of men are supposed to just take care of these things. Like, let's be very real. Let's be very real here. Right? Because a lot of us respond to things because we are defending the ego of our gender. A lot of us respond to things the way that it is that we do because we are responding to defending the collective ego of our gender. I find it hilarious how it is that I seemingly have conversations with people of different intersections, very nuanced conversations, and the rate of me like offending people is slim. The people who I usually offend the most are cishet men. Why? Because they are used to their bullshit being tolerated, and I ain't one of them. I ain't one of them. I'm not one of them. I'm not. Right? So the reality of the situation is, once again, if you find yourself responding to something and in your chest is tight, or your stomach or your mind begins racing, you are responding defensively. There are times when men will say to me, and you can't nobody else take accountability for that but you. You can say that you're not doing it. I'm telling you that there's somewhere in your body that's responding to you seeing or hearing or reading this, because it's a trigger. The reason why we call it a trigger is because it triggers a set of other responses or behaviors, neurologically and physiologically. That's the reason why I used to tell one of my partners before I started spazzing, I'm clenching my jaw, I feel my body getting hot, my stomach is clenched, and my heart is racing. If you choose to move past this conversation at this point, I cannot promise that I'm going to continue to hold this conversation in such a way where you are not going to be harmed. Because at the end of the day, I'm still a human being, but I am accountable enough and I am responsible enough to put a fat ass warning sign in front of that. If you decide to run past that, well, if you woman enough to hurt my feelings, you woman enough to get your feelings hurt. Let's go. Because at some point in time, you are going to stop beating on me. Man or woman, you are going to stop beating on me. But this same partner, this same previous partner said to me in her, at the point she was like 24, 25, you are the first man who has ever told me that you hurt his feelings. And I'm like I didn't show it on my face at the time, but I was like, what the fuck? What? So once again, a lot of y'all as women do not know that y'all hurt men's feelings, and you believe that you don't because they don't say nothing. Which is the reason why y'all will pop up and say, oh, you a man, I can't emasculate you. It don't matter what it is that I say. But you can re-traumatize him the same way that his mother traumatized him by attempting to make him a man that he wasn't even at that point in time. Most black men say that they feel emasculated because that's how they attach the feeling of being traumatized. Most black men say they're being emasculated, like a woman said to me, but most black men say that I feel like I'm being emasculated when I talk about my achievements or anything like that. Okay, I feel that. I'm not saying all black men do this, but I'm simply translating the language because, once again, normalized male alexithymia is a thing. And a lot of black men are not accountable to normalized male alexithymia, right? So normalized male alexithymia is a sociocultural mental health issue based upon traditionally masculine Western cultures that essentially, because men from a young age are discouraged to seek or identify with their emotions, by the time they become adults, they literally do not have the tools or even the words to express what it is that they're feeling, because they have been taught not to translate any other emotion besides anger and wanting to fuck. Right? So what happened is, from that sociocultural occurrence, women have been taught that they have to play games in order for men to pay attention or leave hints, because this is like, yo, all of this we need to be held accountable for. All of it. All of it. All of it. All of it. Right? Because what women are doing is emotional manipulation, and what men is doing is psychic suicide. We need to stop this on both sides. Right? But Black men specifically, this is our generational curse to break. It is ours. We cannot hold anybody else accountable to this. We can't. We cannot. Black men, our generational curse in the black community to break, our cross to bear, is the removal of this idea that expressing love or expressing vulnerability with black women is not masculine. You need to heal your mother wound. You need to heal your mother wound. Right? Black women, you got to heal your father wounds. You have to. Right? Because the reality of the situation is that we both, as black boys and black girls, as black adolescents and as black adults, there is no separation. And we need to be accountable and responsible for that cipher. We need to be held accountable for what it is that we do within our reality. Right? Because at the end of the day, the accountability rests wherever it may rest. And as an individual, you know what you are accountable for within your own reality. You're either going to take account for it or not. And then when you hold other people accountable, their level of accountability is how you find your tribe. I do not engage with people who are not accountable. The reason being is because they physically irritate me. They remind me too much of the trauma that I have with my father, and I don't want to be around them. Because at times I become irate. And I do not enjoy being irate. Right? I do not enjoy being irate. Yeah, not they ban my TikTok podcast. Of course, right? Because once again, when I start talking about men and accountability, I tend to get reported. But it's fine. It's fine. Right? This is the reason why we have the dual cast, and this is the reason why I have multiple platforms where I can put my stuff on, because haters be on TikTok. But once again, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. Right? How is me talking about men being accountable or people being accountable hateful behavior? Right? And my live was on for an hour and a half before it went off. That means somebody reported my live. Right? Which means that somebody got so hurt by what it is that I said that they decided to go tell TikTok 12. This is the reason why we can't get nowhere. Right? This is the reason why I was so upset when what happened with Bree happened. Because of stuff like this. Because of stuff like this. Right? It's insane. It is insanity. What it is that I'm saying is not hate. What it is that I'm talking about is not hate. It makes you uncomfortable, so you feel like it's hateful, right? Which is my issue with TikTok. TikTok tends to take on the same sensitivity as white millennials, or it tends to take on the same sensitivity as white people, which is very irritating, right? TikTok's community guidelines literally mirror white people's definition of racism, and they haven't figured it out yet. But it's okay. It's all right, right? And ultimately, once again, I am being held accountable by somebody who feels like the TikTok guidelines violations, who feels like I should be held account for what it is that I did. And I'm like, okay, I disagree, but what can I really do about that besides continue to protect my account from being removed from TikTok, because I have multiple people who come to that account to, you know what I'm saying, learn about me. You dig what I'm saying? And within that accountability, I started driving traffic to my Instagram page, which now has 11,000.5 followers, and it's going to continue to grow, right? My YouTube has 2.22 thousand followers, and it's going to continue to grow, right? Because I took accountability for the reality of my situation, which was TikTok's platform at times is too influenced by people's emotions. It's not rugged enough. So I move over to platforms where I have a little bit more, you feel me, movement. But once again, that comes in my own accountability. That comes in my ability to do what it is that I need to do for myself in order to continue to get my needs met. And at the end of the day, we can hold other people accountable. that does not mean that they're obligated to take account. So what we must do is that we must internalize accountability for ourselves so that we can become more able to navigate those spaces where we feel as if though we are not being validated by somebody else's lack of accountability. Once again, good people, great people, God's people, I appreciate y'all rocking with me. You feel me? Hopefully I don't get banned from TikTok. If I do, y'all can find me on Instagram. Y'all can find me on, YouTube. I need to, once again, talk about accountability. I need to be more accountable with uploading these joints to Anchor because they don't upload by themselves. So once again, y'all, today was accountability. We talked about accountability. We covered it on both sides of the fence. So now, whenever it is that people say, oh, you pandering, y'all can direct them to Accountability 101, and they can see that I talk about accountability from a genderless perspective. I just point out when somebody's not being accountable. So, once again, if y'all are interested in coming in, going through my e-products, seeing how it is that I actually operate offline and engage in these communities, or whether it be offline hybrid, or actually teach and train and develop people in these types of modalities or in these types of ideologies, come join my book clubs, right? Once again, it's the Love Book Club and the Wealth Book Club. Come join my masterclass, my free masterclass that happens every month. Come join my Mindful Finance Incubator and course. Come look at my manifestation manual. All of these things are in the link tree in my bio on Instagram, and the webinar registration link for my free Mindful Finance Masterclass is on my TikTok. But in a couple of days, that link is going to change, and it's going to be my just my plain website link. So for right now, if y'all want to join the masterclass, the free masterclass, which is not the same thing as a book club, which is not the same thing as the Mindful Finance Incubator, there are two different things. The masterclass, the free masterclass, is an introduction to the rest of those things. So if you would like to join the free masterclass that I do every month, you can come on, join that. But anything past the free masterclass, you're going to have to pay for. Anything past the free masterclass, you're going to have to pay for. I'm just letting you know right now. The only thing that I have free is my content and this masterclass. Everything else, bread. So peace, love, soul, butter rolls. Let me go read what they talking about on TikTok, and then I'll see y'all next time. Peace.